I'm so excited. We have two fantastic guests today. We have Carole Griesedieck coming in from New York City, and we have Carole McCarty, who's reigning from one of her two Portlands where she spends her time, in this case, Portland, Oregon, and she's going to tell us about an amazing new project she's launched. I'll give you a little hint. Well, I'm not going to give you any hint. Carole's going to tee this up.
Right there.
Right there. You see the sign behind Carole? It says Laid Off Lounge. Well, this is a woman who has taken all of her strengths, incredible drive and passion, and the most magnetic, exciting, fun personality you could imagine, and taken it and thrown it all toward the Laid Off Lounge. And she's had an incredible career. We're going to hear from Carole. Before we hear from Carole, we're going to talk to Carole Griesedieck, who I am so grateful, Carole, that you joined our call. Carole is, can I say how old you are, Carole? Is that okay? She's a young woman.
Just turned 25.
Just turned 25.
Happy birthday, Carole.
She's really, she's one of my dearest
Thank
friends.
you.
Karen, who's on the phone, an amazing, dear friend, her daughter. So, and Carole is, Carole, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were little, when you were thinking of what you wanted to be when you grew up, what did you think?
I never really knew for sure. I'd say I thought a lot about being a nurse. I just knew I wanted to help people in some way, but I didn't know how. And I still didn't really know how until halfway through college, I'd say.
Okay. So your grandfather is a neurologist, right? And your grandmother worked in his office her entire career, and your aunt's a nurse, right? So did you consider, so you thought about medicine and you decided not to. Why not? Yeah. You're smart. I know you're really smart.
I decided against medicine, one, because I did not do well in my chemistry class and it was a traumatic experience for me, chemistry. And also because I just have always had a lot of health anxiety, so I didn't think really being a nurse would be good for me. Yeah, I would say that's why.
So you guys heard that. I can relate to that. And so now, where are you right now?
So what I'm doing right now is I'm an inpatient medicine social worker at Bellevue Hospital. And, usually on a normal basis, we're meeting with patients face to face and, just providing support to them in a number of ways that would take me a while to go through. But right now we've been, because basically everyone in our hospital has COVID, we've just been, providing as much support as we can over the phone and then doing a lot of discharge work because we need to constantly, make room for patients to come in and out of the hospital. Okay,
so you're, essentially, you didn't want to be on the front line. You never were thinking, I want to be on the front line of a global
No, especially because of my health anxiety.
Yeah. And so here you are, really on the front line. And I know that you're very protective of your patients and can't talk about them. But you've been very much counseling people who have been ill with COVID and their families.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah, and it's been especially difficult because, usually I'm able to develop a lot of rapport with patients and their families, meeting them face to face. But right now, patients' families can't even come into the hospital. So I'm talking to these families on the phone and saying, trying to offer support about their family member who's dying. And, I don't know this person. And so, it feels kind of foreign to be telling them this horrible news when they don't know who I am. And I'm just sort of, a person that can connect what's happening to the hospital to what's happening to their family member. But, I think that it is an important role. And a lot of family members have said, you're the only person I've been able to get in touch with. And that's, no fault of the doctors. It's just that they have so many patients and, they need to respond to terrible events all the time.
So, Carole, I'm sure lots of people on this call, may have felt, are very moved by what you're talking about. And, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, you're the lifeline between the hospital, you're the bridge between the hospital and this horrifying situation. And you're the link between the family and the hospital for some people, the only link.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard because, we don't have medical training. So families have a lot of medical questions and, they're not getting answers from doctors sometimes, but, we kind of have to say like, I'm going to have a doctor reach out to you, and we can't, give them much information. And sometimes we know that the patient has dramatically shifted from, being alert and oriented, and now they're sedated and we don't know what's going to happen, but we can't tell them that. We have to wait until the doctor is able to reach out. So that can be kind of horrible, holding that and kind of knowing you just have to wait until they hear it from the doctor.
Okay, so Cole, how have you been able to do this? This is a lot to ask of anyone, let alone somebody who's early in her career. How have you been able to do this?
I hate to say it, but I think it does kind of help that I'm not seeing these patients face to face, because, before when I've dealt with patients dying before, and those have affected me each in different ways, but the patients I had dying before, families I had dealt with and met with in person, I think not seeing these patients in person I've kind of just had to distance myself from it. I think if I related to it too much, I wouldn't be able to, deal with it, because I've just, had so many patients die. So it's, I think it's just a survival method, honestly. And I think, I have friends who are nurses in the ICU at various hospitals in New York, and I think they've kind of said the same thing, that they've had to distance themselves, otherwise it would just be too much.
So one of the things with the Ignite method, which is about 55-minute workouts to help people discover their genius, but the real idea is that we have so many hidden talents and strengths that we may not even know, and we don't see ourselves fully without the help of others, and that there are actual ways to help each other see ourselves. And when you and I were talking on one of the Zoom calls where you joined, when you were home with COVID-19 yourself, asymptomatic, but you were home, and you joined, and you were talking about who you thought you were before. Mm-hmm. What did you think was your greatest, like before you talked about being regimented? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would just say when I was growing up, and maybe until, most of college, I just was very type A and had to do things a certain way, and didn't see myself as, someone that could react quickly to things changing. And so it's kind of interesting that now I'm in this field where that's sort of my main job, is to do things that I didn't realize were my job at any point, and just kind of accept it and go along with it.
And you said that now you see yourself as adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, seeing patients every day and able to spend so much time with each patient, because my caseload was have so many COVID patients that, and sort of our role with these patients has shifted from just only support to now we're dealing with burial, helping families deal with the death of their loved ones, whereas before that was really just something I very once in a while had to deal with, and now it's sort of on a daily basis. I have probably one patient die a day, so it's terrible. But I've sort of, I'm surprised myself that I've been able to shift into that so quickly, and I think it's cool to kind of see yourself do something that
you didn't know you could do. Okay. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I want to say. I want anybody right now that wants to weigh in. Cole, I'm so thankful that you're here. We're not going to take much more of your time for this. We're going to just, for a moment, I think if anybody wants to comment on something you see in Cole that you admire, That's part of the Ignite method, is noticing and scanning for what we admire and see in others that's really working, that stands out to us. Anybody have anything they want to comment on about Cole right now?
I do. So actually, sorry.
Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So Beth, actually, Cole, you are the BC grad, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay. So actually, Beth had mentioned you probably a week or so ago, or maybe a week and a half ago during one of her events. And I honestly have thought about you, and I don't even know you, every single day since, because she talked about it and said how, you know, we're older. Some of us were like we're twice your age, I regret to say. But I was like, how is this woman who is, you know, sort of thrown onto these front lines and dealing with this? And I just did in my head reach out to her every day, because I thought she's got to have a strength in her that, you know, is really tenacious. So, you know, that's just a shout out to you, because
Well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
Very impressed. I actually just texted my daughter and I said, I wish you were here. Come down and listen to this.
Well, I hope that, Cole, you'll come on another Ignite call and we can do have some more conversations.
Sure.
But I appreciate that Darina is in Boston right now, and so very cool. So somebody else want to comment?
Well,
I wanted to
really,
comment. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say really quickly, Darina, maybe you're thinking about Cole so much because you're from Ireland, and my mother, who's Cole's grandmother, is completely obsessed with Ireland. And maybe there's some Irish connection there where you were feeling from the heaven above.
There may be.
I have a quick question for you, Cole. First of all, thank you so much for what you're doing. Complete inspiration at the age of 25. And as I was listening to you talk, I want to ask you, what are you doing for your soul? Like, what are you doing? Like, I know that you had mentioned that, you know, you have a death a day and you're just going about business, right? Like, this is your norm right now. But are you able to separate this norm that you're dealing with, kind of flip a light switch and go into your own world? And if so, what are you doing for yourself to be able to make you feel really good deep down in that soul of yours that is hands down amazing?
I think one of the things is, again, you know, and it sounds bad because you would think maybe if you were me that you'd want to hold on to these stories as much as you can and really think a lot about the patient and the families, but really that's just not feasible to do if you want to, you know, be a sane person. And so, I mean, you can't always avoid it, but when it does happen, I have great coworkers who, you know, we're all going through the same thing. So, I mean, you know, someone cried in our office today about a patient situation. You know, it's just great people to bounce off of, and once you kind of let it out, you're able to, you know, relate to each other and support each other. So having that group of people has been really helpful.
Well, I have a question. I did a lot of soul searching and traveling throughout my first 5 decades. And I found that the last taboo that I was ever able to deal with was death. Something that I had put aside and not thought about. You can break moral taboos, sexual taboos, cultural taboos, but death is kind of the ultimate. You're being cast into this in your 20s. I was in India 4 years ago and saw some horrific things that I wasn't prepared for, and it forever transformed me. How do you, even though you're in the middle of it, do you feel like this is a transformative moment for you in dealing with this taboo?
Yes, I do. And I also, you know, fear that some of these patients' families, you know, maybe feel like their loved one is just becoming a number. You know, every day it's this many thousands of patients die, but, you know, I'm seeing each of these families or I'm talking to them, and, you know, each story is so painful. So it does get scary when you think of it in that way. I think I would have, you know, a really hard time coping with actually, you know, seeing the death. I know it's happening and I'm talking about it with the families and the doctors, but I'm not seeing it. And, you know, I have heard from a good friend of mine who's, you know, witnessing that death and having to actually, you know, deal with that bodily death, and she, is having a really, really hard time, and that's, affected her quite differently.
I want to step in here for a moment. I want to make sure I didn't say this earlier. Cole is a psychologist. She got her master's degree.
Social worker.
Master's in social work. Where did you get your master's degree?
Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia. So just so you know, if you're on the call and that's how Cole's background. And here's what I think when you're talking about transformation, Tim, is I think that this transformation, that when somebody at Dorina talked about your strength, it'll be interesting for you to change the way you see yourself as the strong leader that you are. When we were thinking about you, when your mom was telling us the kind of phone calls you were having to make, and I mentioned it on my Zoom call, not by name, but just this idea that I knew this young woman, we were thinking, oh my God, you are so important to these people. And I think you get it. You're so important. And to really hope that you understood that this is what leadership is. You are the leader right now. That's what leadership looks like. And you may be 25 and you never in your life thought you were going to be leading at this level at this young age, but you are an example of leadership. So we need to really have time at some point to deconstruct what it is you're doing so we can celebrate each part of that and help you see yourself more fully. Marion, you had something you wanted to say.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that I admire your introspection, and I also really admire your resilience and perseverance, and I'm just in awe by you, and I think about you so much, and I just want you to know that we're all here thinking about you, and I'm gonna say a swear word, you're a badass, and you're doing a job that is just so crucial, and I know you know that, but I don't know, I can't get over you, so I just want you to know
Thank you, Marion. That's really nice.
I'm sending love.
We are sending love. And is there anything, Amy, that you wanted to say? Amy usually has something very wise to say.
How did you know I wanted to say something?
I can now read your mind.
I know. Yes. So my sister is a social worker at the NICU at a hospital here in St. Louis, and I really feel that social workers get kind of like the short end of the stick, especially the hospitals, because people don't consider her like a healthcare worker, and they don't realize that like social workers are there. So like people think about doctors and nurses and all of that, and so I know that can be really, that sometimes tears her down a little bit. Like, well, I matter too, and I'm doing all of this work, but nobody sees what I'm doing. So I know that can be hard. So just thank you for that work, because it's really even more important now, the stuff that you're doing, because you are that lifeline for those families from wherever they are to the hospital and their loved ones. So thank you for all of that.
Excellent.
Thank you for saying that. I can relate a lot to that, and she's right, and she's also very important. So thanks for saying that.
Oh, you're so elegant in the way that you can even handle all of this, the way you can handle and hold this for all of us, that we can say something to you and then you can acknowledge what the person who's saying something to you, acknowledging them in such a way. Your gifts
That's
are
social work school.
well, it's very natural. It rolls off just so elegantly from you. I love you. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll, if you have time, I know you've had a long day, so you do what you need to do to take care of yourself, but we'd love to have you back, and thank you for joining. And if anybody wants to comment on something you admire about Cole or message to Cole, why not send it in a chat, okay? You can chat about it. All right, so thank you, Cole.
Yes,
Okay.
it's too bad that it's not 7 o'clock there, because anytime I'm talking to Cole and it's 7 p.m. in New York, it's really loud outside her window with all the cheering and honking and screaming when the healthcare workers get off work. It's surreal because you hear about it, but then she's right there, and it's chilling. It's just really unbelievable. The support, it's been great.
And it's important to note that Cole's there living in an apartment without a lot of she doesn't have family there. She's there on her own. She's from St. Louis, Missouri, and living there and very bravely in the center of the crisis and helping people. So, Cole, we love you and thank you. We're going to talk to somebody else now who's another favorite person of mine, Carole McCarty, who's an executive producer extraordinaire that doesn't even begin to capture all the ways that Carole is. She's one of the most magnetic people you'll ever meet, and you're going to get a full dose of Carole right here. And this is an early dose. So, Carole, I don't want to tell your story because nobody can tell your story better than you. I want you to all experience Carole, but in the name of the Ignite method, notice what it is that you find to be amazing about Carole. Okay, you're gonna have some fun now. So Carole, why don't you start with, you take it away. You're the executive producer. Where do we begin this story?
Well, again, Cole, it's hard to come in off of the back of your story and who you are. I wish I would have started and ended with your story because I'm kind of not myself right now, just trying to imagine like what you're going through every day, because my story of where I am today and what I'm doing today is, I mean, I'm in this unemployment crisis due to the pandemic, but I have my health, and I'm with my girlfriend in Portland, and I'm just part of the statistics of over 26 million people that are unemployed right now. So I reached out to Beth, and I reached out to each other last night, and so I'll just give you guys a little background of my world. I am definitely double your age, Cole, and proud of it, but I definitely have a heart of a 25-year-old and the energy of a 25-year-old.
That's for sure.
But yeah, so I've had this amazing career. I started in the mailroom when I was 18 and kind of had this drive and passion where I was like, by the time I'm 30, I want to be an executive producer running a department, head of a production department at a firm, and succeeded and just have this really large drive. But most recently, I've been more of a freelance contract worker, and the last awesome project that I worked on was a documentary film for Under Armour with Stephen Curry. You guys know who that little guy is from the Golden State Warriors. A boxer from London, Anthony Joshua, and Kayla O'Hara, who plays for the women's soccer team. And I just feel so lucky and grateful for the opportunities that I've had in my career. So most recently, I went from being on the marketing and advertising side and jumped into the brand side. And I took a project at Airbnb in San Francisco last year and was working on a confidential project with the co-founder, Brian Chesky. And 6-7 months, it was going really great. And then he killed it. And I took a month and a half off and joined back up with Airbnb earlier this year and was hired to work on an amazing project for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Due to that 2020 Olympics, now going to be 2021 Olympics, I'm one of 1,100 people that got laid off from Airbnb. Last day on the books is Tuesday of next week, but I was able to take a couple of week downtime. I found out about my layoff on April Fool's Day, which my boss, who told me that I was getting laid off, I was like, oh, come on, dude, that's funny. Joke's on me, right? No, didn't work so well. But I took the news with stride. And again, I think, coming off of your story, Cole, it's like I have my health. I'm super creative. I'm probably not going to find a job right now. What can I do? And I came back from a run and decided to make a podcast. And the podcast is called Laid Off Lounge. It is a place where we, call up on people that are dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. And people are telling us their stories. So today you can see on my wall back here, we launched 3 episodes on Wednesday of this week. And we started doing the podcast 2 weeks ago on Monday the 13th. And it's just been a blast.
Wait a minute. So, Carole, 12 days after you got the news, you've got 3 episodes in the can and you launched?
Yeah. And I have, I think we've had a total of 12 guests. And, we're taking advantage of Zoom. I literally, jumped on the horn and went on Best Buy, ordered a mic, did the drive-by, picked my mic up. My co-host, Billy Jack in Austin, Texas, got on Amazon, got him a mic, got that shipped out to him. And I think the thing that's great, there's a quote I'm going to read to you guys that I will see if I can find that. Give me 1 second. I meant to pull this up and I didn't. Here we go. Bear in mind, you guys, I have never done a podcast. I've done nothing like this. I've been behind the scenes. I've never been in it. And Beth and I had this conversation earlier. So this is something I'm trying to remember every day. Even the best podcast had to start with a few bad episodes. Every show and show host has to find their footing. And the best way to improve is by continuing to record new episodes. And that's like every day I get up and that's what I'm doing. And it's been a blast. I cannot believe how busy I am. I'm busier now, not making a dime than I was when I was working, for Airbnb less than a month ago.
Okay, so tell us about your mission really with the Laid Off Lounge, and tell us how to find you so that everybody here can tell everybody they know about what you're doing.
So so I think, our mission statement for the Laid Off Lounge, it's a podcast for anyone and everyone who has been directly affected by the unemployment crises. Myself and my co-host, Billy Jack, we're just joined by guests across all walks to discuss their unique experience. And I think that's basically, why we're doing this. And we're having a cocktail every day with someone out there. And, some of the conversations that we've had, I talked to a bartender who, lost his job the day before St. Patty's Day, right? Everyone goes to the bar on St. Patty's Day. So it was a big day for him. And he was automatically 30 days are just shut down. And, I think they were supposed to pick back up this week, but they're not. So, who knows what's going to happen next with that. I interviewed a administrative educator from Maine.
Uh-huh.
She was episode 2, absolutely fantastic. So articulate, moving, and just giving us like a look at I know my world. I know what I do. And I'm going back to you again, Cole, your story, right? We kind of know about what's happening there because you're getting a little bit of information from CNN, from Fox, and there are people that are posting on all the social channels how amazing all the frontliners are. But this is hands down the first conversation I've had with, with someone that's really experiencing it. And again, I can't thank you for sharing that. I keep diverting back to you, but I think someone just pinged the link. Yeah. So there's the link for the podcast. You can follow us. You can follow us also on Instagram. I probably should have wrote all this stuff down. I forgot I was plugging myself.
We'll send it to everybody on the call. We know everybody on this call here. We will send it out and make sure everybody knows. But the thing is, I think when we talk about your bigger mission in life, Carole, what today we talked about what you think you're on the earth to do. What is it?
Yeah. I asked myself this, especially during really trying times like this. I'm like, what's my purpose? I'll be out on a run because that's what I do, guys. I'm an Iron woman. I did my first Ironman last year in Lake Placid, New York. And that hands down might be the hardest thing that I've ever accomplished in my life. And
tell about after you did your run, the swim, what you were thinking after you completed.
Oh yeah. So, and bear in mind, before doing the Ironman race, I'd never run a marathon, but I've done a half a marathon. I did a lot of training. I think part of my training, I might have run 18 miles.
Would you tell us, for those of us who don't know what an Ironman is, would you tell us what it consists
of? What it entails? Yeah. An Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bicycle ride, followed up by just a little marathon. And you have to train for it. And I maybe I'm an overachiever as well, because I took on this Ironman challenge by myself. working on the documentary with Gotham Chopra, and started a new relationship.
Yeah, right.
And so where's the balance, and I think my training dialed back a little bit. So my ultimate goal, I wanted to do it in 12 hours and 30 minutes, and I ended up doing it in 12 hours and 45 minutes. So I was a little bummed, but like can say I'm an Iron Woman, because I don't say that because it's a brand, Iron Man, but I call myself an Iron Woman.
It's amazing. I think I wrote Carole and said, like, congrats on the marathon. She was like, it was not a marathon. By this point, she was having her first Paloma, as she calls it. No, Pomona.
Pomona, yeah.
Her first Pomona. And she was like, it was not an Ironman, dude. I mean, it's not a marathon, dude.
Yeah.
But the thing about you, Carole, so you talked earlier about spreading joy, like the idea of, wait, who just wrote? Can you imagine getting on a bike in a wet swimming suit and going on that long ride? How was that?
All right, so Katie, the brand Ironman's actually amazing. So, and I'll share some photos with you guys later. So what ends up happening is you go in the day before, and there's this huge staging area that you put clothes for each section of it. So I stripped out of all of my, well, no, actually I didn't strip out of I have a suit that I wear under my wetsuit. It's my triathlon suit, but I wear under it. So I took the wetsuit off, and then I rode in that. Yes, it was wet a little bit, but it dried within like 4 miles or maybe at mile 10, because I went down a hill where my top speed was 45 miles an hour. Because the hill was it was like, I could not wait for that hill. That was like a 17-mile downhill that was like the best part of the race.
Oh my God, the only easy part probably, right?
Yeah.
The only part where you weren't coasting. I'm sure you were still pedaling, knowing you.
I tried. Yeah, I tried. Now I tried to loosen up the legs and try to save my legs for the run as best as I could. But
did you really start in the mailroom?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was that? So you went into a news station and you were in the mailroom? Is that where?
No, I started at Jerry De La Femina's ad agency in Los Angeles. Jerry De La Femina is a famous guy from New York. He owns restaurants, and he owned his own ad agency, and I started in the mailroom. And I'll tell you guys a cute little story about that. So I probably was 19, tried college, failed. So I was like, I'm just going to go to work. I'm just going to go into work and start making money, because I was dyslexic, but didn't know I was dyslexic until later in life. And so I go to this interview, and I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm kind of a surfer, snowboarder chick, and not one to like, get, super fancy dress up. Didn't know that I was supposed to do that. So I showed up in probably a holey pair of jeans, a baseball cap, and a t-shirt for this interview. This ad agency in Wilshire that's like, like the sister agency of, Madman agency in New York. And I'm in the lobby, and I'm like, ooh, wow. I mean, super fancy lobby. And I'm like, kind of feeling nervous. Not my normal cocky self, like super nervous. Mm-hmm. And the HR woman comes out, she was perfect. Her mascara, her eye makeup, her lipstick, her clothes were ironed perfectly. And she walked down, she looked at me, and she said, "Hi, Carole, I'm Marge Powell. Nice to meet you." And she said, "I would like for you to go across the street to Robinson's Make Company, buy a new outfit, and come back to this interview, and then I'll talk to you." And
wow.
I was just like, oh my gosh, wow. And I said a couple of cuss words, and I was just like super negative. I'm like, I don't need this job. No, I don't need this job. Went down the elevator, 19 flights, went down, walked across the street. And I was like, okay, I think this is a test, Carole. This is your first test into the grown-up world. You don't need to be this rebellious kid anymore. Just go do it. And just tuck the tags in, and when you're done, you can return it. So I did just that. I walked back in. She came out, and she looked at me, and she goes, "You're hired." That was it. That was it. That was my test. She was just, if I followed directions, she's like, "You're done. You're in." It was a mailroom job. And I got in that mailroom, girls and gentlemen. I I made sure that like I could be the best mailroom. And then I went from there to mailroom supervisor. We grew overnight. Within a year, the agency went from like 200 people to 1,500 people. I was responsible for every single new employee. And, I look back today and I was able to pick what department I wanted to work in because of that. Because I went around and I met everybody and I talked to everybody and I laughed with everybody. And I made sure that, because I didn't make a ton of money then. I'm like, I went to Marge. I go, what else can I do? She goes, you can pick up everyone's coffee cup at the end of the day and wash them. I go, great. But not only did I do that, but I picked up everybody's coffee cup, memorized which one they had, and put them back on their desk upside down clean.
Wow.
And just push.
Yes.
And then when I got the opportunity to move up, I moved up, and, history in the making as far as just really pushing and driving to get to where I am today.
And obviously, and I think everybody on this call has the feeling that you've had a lot of, very high profile projects you've done. You've had tons of high profile projects.
Yeah, I like I love to say, I have been really, really lucky in my career. And my dad always says, kiddo, it's not luck, girl. You work your ass off for where you are. And he's right, but I still just love saying, using the term that I'm really lucky and super grateful. One of the other amazing projects that I got to work on a couple of years ago, I worked for an agency in New York called Translation that at the time was owned by Jay-Z and Steve Stout, big music people that decided to go into marketing and kind of bring music into marketing. And State Farm was our client, and they did this amazing event where they'd sponsor an artist, and we'd go out and we'd film content, and we did Usher. And it was an amazing experience. We went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we pulled off a 3-week event where we ended up having a concert at his elementary school. And with that, we had all these different fundraisers and events happening that if anybody brought a, give me 1 second, guys, the kitty cat needs to be lit out.
All right. Give me a thumbs up if you're having fun. I want to see the thumbs up if you're having fun out there. You can,
I love this. I love if you're going to do it well. The washing
That's what
the.
your dad told me, Virginia.
I know. Yeah, it's the best. I love hearing that. It's such great advice. Sorry, I'll stop. I'm doing a little filler there.
Thank you, Virginia. Perfect filler. Okay, Carole.
Anyway, yeah. So this amazing.
Which cat is this? Which cat?
That was Samantha.
Is she the
transgender handsome kitty cat?
Yes, exactly. I was wondering. I never got to see her.
No, I know. She just like jumped off my little bench over here and wanted out. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So yeah, kind of jumping ahead, this Usher project, Translation, State Farm, another company, Radical Media, and TNT, we did a collaboration where we actually purchased 60 minutes of TV time. And we ended up building all the content for that 60 minutes, all the commercials, plus putting on the concert. And Usher has a lot of nonprofit organizations in his hometown that he loves to back. And so we had like a drive where if people dropped off a packaged, art supply, you got 2 free tickets to the concert.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we ended up filming it. Anyway, that again was just so moving just to see how he, with his celebrity status and, the monies that he makes, that he really puts back into his community with a lot of the music programs and the art programs that are there for underprivileged kids.
Okay, so anybody who's experiencing you right now, I'm certain is thinking, I don't know if they are, if they're not, there's so much fun. You're so exciting to be around. I love when you're telling any story, whether it's serious, whether it's funny. She has a wildly playful side, Carole does. But one of the things that's interesting is that you've always been behind the scenes and really shining a spotlight on other people and telling their stories and helping them. But talk a little bit about that, and also about how you interact with the people who work for you, whether it's the secretary, the admin, et cetera. And, from Usher, because Usher, they developed a great relationship, of course, Carole and Usher, and all the people that she works with, the celebrities. But it ends up to me that you're so connected to everybody who's working with you and for you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think so. Yeah.
Just your values around that, and how you, like when you were talking about when you're working on a set, you send everybody a picture every morning.
Yeah. I mean, I am definitely the hardest worker in the room. I show up before everyone is supposed to be there, and I'm the last one to leave. And, as Beth just said, like, I have had the privilege and opportunity, like, I forgot, I did a huge campaign with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, because he has his own, brand with Under Armour. And that was another learning lesson, where you're working with such high celebrity power. The night before we were supposed to, film him, I get on a call with him, and his people didn't show him the idea. Mm-hmm. And we got on the call, and he said, nope, not doing this. And so we're like, okay, all right, Mr. Rock. So we got off the phone, we scrambled. I think we had 2 days. We had 2 days to scramble. And, redid the whole thing, within 48 hours, didn't sleep. And, it's just like, I don't know, Beth, I think that goes back to my drive and passion too. Like, I love what I do. And I think
go ahead, but also the way that you treat people. There's something about how you treat people. So if somebody let's say they're on the mailroom floor now, how do you treat them?
Oh my God, yeah. So this is what's great. I know where I came from. I came from the bottom. So it doesn't matter if I'm on set and there's a PA, and the PA's job is just to empty the trash, get the chair. And I immediately become friends with every single person that's either on my set and or who I'm working with. If it's an assistant, I'm on complete level playing field. And we mentor each other. There's never a right or wrong question. Your curiosity, anything, ask. And I think that's been part of, as the boss, I've pride myself on that type of communication with some of the people that, that I work with. One of the other things that I shared with Beth earlier is, I am a ray of sunshine. And when I'm working on a project, I like to get up and exercise. I'll go for a run, and I'll just snap a couple of selfies and send it to all my team. And I'll be like, good morning, guys. We're going to kick ass today. Can't wait to see you guys all in the office. And I think people count on that. And I don't do it to get a response back. I just, like what Beth said, I think part of my purpose here in life is just to make people smile and be happy and have a great day.
Can we pause just there for a minute? So for the younger people on the call, I want you to just think of the positional power when you're in, you have there's very few places in the world where you can influence with authority. And when you're at the peak in an organization, you have authority. And it's so rare for those people who have authority to actually care very deeply about the mindset and the emotional state of the people who are coming in to slug it out for them all day long, right? I mean, that just is so rare. When you have total authority in an organization, I know it's not total, but it's pretty close, to be thinking, how can I help them start their day well? And that's a big piece of that, what you do for the people when they come on set, it seems to me. And I don't know what you're thinking, but there's something else I wanted to share. So I met Carole through Paul, my husband Paul's family, and in his family, a stepfather's family, there's the man who was the grandfather, Bobby Sides. Bobby Sides was a math teacher. Did he teach at Andover? I think he taught at Harvard. He was like admissions at Harvard. He was very buttoned up, very concrete, black and white. And when he got everybody adored it. The family respected and admired him so much. And when he was in his later 80s and he was had some dementia. He forgot all of his children. Now, Carol's not a blood relative. She was what we called a fuzzin, a fake cousin. But the only person that Bobby Sides could remember was Carol. Okay. So that's just, we always laugh about that. Can you comment on that, Carol?
Yeah, no, that's so great, Beth. So I might have left an impression, guys. I think it might have been the way I roll in sometimes. So I ride motorbikes, and I drove up, drove down from my house in Maine down to Marblehead on this big Harley that has like saddlebags and everything, and I brought lobster, right? So I had lobster in the back, and I just pull into Big Bobby's circle driveway, and he just opens the door, and he's like, he would do this. That's just kind of like, it didn't matter who you were, that's how he would just greet you, and he would just have this smile, and so I think that might have been like a huge one. And then, I don't know, wasn't there like a big party or something happening? Either the dishwasher broke or the dryer broke, and I'm handy as well, and I just like assessed it, took some things apart, drove down to the local hardware store, came back, put it all back together. And I'm like, Big Bobby, come here. And he hits the button and it works. He goes, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just did it.
That's why we think maybe Grandpa Bobby could only remember Carol. Like the last person he could remember was Carol. But here's what I want to say to everybody on the call. I mean, I know I want to hear what people are admiring about you, Carol. You talked earlier about when you were thinking, what is my purpose in life? And you said, maybe it's to spread joy. And I thought, Carol's so cool. And if you experience her in real life, she's even cooler. And everybody is drawn to Carol. And I'm like, Carol is the kind of person that can make spreading joy cool. And I mean that with all my heart. It's like she makes everything more fun. And if you get behind spreading joy, it can become a really big thing. And in a way, that's what you're doing with the Laid Off Lounge, right? You're taking this crappy, yes, you have your health, but you don't have you lost this job you moved across the country for, and you're really, all in. And so, but I think that you're dedicated to making this, to having some fun with it, to hearing people's stories, to caring about what they have to say, and to spread joy.
Yeah, no, 100%. So well put. I can't even top that. That's like perfectly said.
If you're cool with this, let's hear from people. What are you loving about Carol? What are you admiring? What do you want to say? This is the cool thing about the Ignite method. What you have to say can actually really help Carol and everyone see Carol more fully. So thoughts?
Okay, well, I've known Carol for forever. And I've always thought you were like the coolest, like I was just like, so cool. And I feel like oftentimes, I bet you guys can relate to this, but you don't often feel seen by people you admire or people that you find to be cool or whatever you find them to be. And I think the unique thing about Carol is that whenever you have an interaction with her, you feel completely seen and you feel completely loved. And like, I just can't even handle it because I love Carol so much. I just feel overwhelmed by it. So I think that even going back to like the mailroom story, like, and to all of your coworkers, you just make them feel so seen. So I think that's definitely one of your purposes too.
Oh my God, I love that, Marion. Thank you so much.
Now that is really cool. So if we think about, so often we think about what we do, right? I'm an executive producer. I'm an accountant. I'm a whatever. We don't think about how we make people feel. And when really that's one of the greatest gifts, I think you hit the nail on the head, Marion, is that Carol makes you feel special in it and seen and appreciated and loved when you're in her presence, even in the way you interact with people on this call. It's incredible. Okay, great feedback. Who else wants to talk about what
I do. Again.
Virginia.
So that was, Carol, thank you so much. I've heard a lot about you, and that was really fun to hear what you've done. What really struck me was, well, a lot of things, but you seem to have such like an incredible self-knowledge and comfort with who you are. But I love that moment when you pivoted at that job interview and you're like, oh, like this is part of the game. This is the test. This is, what I need to do. And, fought against the, I think understandable irritation and just went with it and then turned the job into your own and made it fit who you are again. And brought, that, I don't know, just a very stable ego, it seems like. And I think, sunshine, I think that it is a great purpose and a great gift. I think it comes from love and happiness, and optimism. And it's just good. So wonderful that you share that with everybody. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
Oh, absolutely, Virginia. And I just think listening to your feedback on it, it just made me think right now. I believe that was a huge pivoting point in my life. That was a really huge moment for me that I always look back on, and I always use that as part of my opening bio as well. In addition to
wow, that's great. That's great.
So, yeah,
I love that. That's incredible. That's a great. I think that's that right there. We can all take something from that, right? Where are we? Where could we do that? Where are we being tested? And
I have something to say too.
oh, Parker, hi. I'm so glad
Hi.
you're here.
So when before like anyone first started talking, when we first opened, like I could immediately feel your energy and how cool you were. Marion can attest to this. I DM'd her like on like the little side chat and was like, she's such a badass. She's so cool. And then like hearing your story, it just completely like reaffirmed like my thoughts. And I think in today's society, a lot of people are very like, oh, I want to do this when I grow up, or like I want to do this eventually, but you just seem like the person who does it and goes for it. And I really admire that a lot. I feel like if everyone just did what they said they wanted to do, or like felt like they should do, our world would be a lot better place. So I just admire everything about you. You're so cool.
Oh, Parker, thank you so much. And I have some friends. It's funny you say that. You know that tagline, just do it? The big tagline, Nike, just do it?
Yeah, I so agree with that.
I have some friends of mine, I call them the Mobies. They're the mother bitches, and I do a lot of work with them. And one of them, Nettie, said to me, Carole, I don't think I've met someone quite like you. Where, to your point, Parker, where everybody has dreams and everybody has, ideas, right? But you can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but to just really just do it is just, I love it. It's I don't know, it's part of that drive that I have when I get up in the morning.
All right, I love that, and thank you. Oh, who's going to say something?
It's Katie. Carole, I feel like I've known you. I mean, you're not new to me. You're a photon, and you're just this light, you're a beam, and your whole energy is so cool. You are just, you're magnetic, definitely. And I love, especially for the younger people on this call, I love what talking about the mailroom, because you just prove no matter what your job is, even if it's, working at a drive-through, food chain, whatever, no matter what it is, if you give it your all, you have no idea where that's going to take you. And you gave it your all, and look where you are now. And it's all learning experience. And you made an impression on all the people you were with too. And that's so important, because you never know who's watching and who you're making an impression on. But, I think you're amazing. And I can't wait to see what you do with this podcast and everything. So definitely want to follow that.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciate it. And someone, Amy, wrote in here, yes, it's also on Spotify. I couldn't get it into the iTunes Apple yet. Their whole system's crashing, but we're definitely having a blast pushing this out. And it's getting some fun traction.
I also think it's the kind of podcast that you really don't need to be laid off to relate to and watch. And Billy Jack is going to join Carole in another episode, her partner, and her partner in this project. And she also has another person who's been helping her, Christina, who is going to be joining us as well, who's been a big part of the launch of the Laid Off Lounge. But I hope that everybody here will spread the word, because when you have somebody like Carole, whose mission really is to spread joy, and no matter what she does, whether she is on her Harley with her father crossing the country, whether she is working on a project with a team and trying to make them feel good in the morning, whether she is handling somebody's elderly grandfather and making him feel taken care of when she's taking apart his washer or dryer and going to fix it, whether she's joining us on this call, Her mission is to spread joy, and she does it in everything she touches. So let's help her launch the Laid Off, get it at the word out on the Laid Off Lounge. And Carole will be back. Here's what we're going to do. If anybody wants to stay a little bit, we're going to have another it's not over yet, but if anybody wants to linger on after this, in the next minute when we end, stay on for a few. If Carole can stay, she'll visit. Before we go, I want Tim to make a comment. Well, first of all, I want to thank you.
Hey, Beth, can
Yes.
I answer Missy's
Cool. If
question?
anybody wants to leave, jump off the call. Let's stay on. Okay, Carole, go for
Yeah,
it.
so Missy wrote something. Are you still on, Missy?
Yes,
there
she
you
is.
are. This is a great question. If the world doesn't end and things get back to normal, will you continue with the podcast? Missy, absolutely. And Billy Jack and I talked about that, how it will, because we're still going to have these stories. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, Missy, for instance, like, I can't imagine that it's just going to be a light switch. I've been saying this, it's going to be a dimmer. How things get back to normal, what the new normal is going to be. I mean, there's, what did I say? Like 60, there are 26 million unemployed people in the last 5 weeks. All those people need to find work. And, we interviewed a 10-year-old boy, a friend of mine's son, because he's not unemployed, but he's at home where both his parents had to shut their businesses down. So again, to Beth's comment, it's not just anyone that got laid off. It's anybody that's affected by this unemployment crisis. And I think it's going to be for quite some time, Missy. I don't think that it's just going to flip a switch and we're going to be back to normal. And I think we'll always have it called Laid Off Lounge, and then it might just kind of segue into something else as a different topic.
I also think one of the things, and Missy wrote in again, but
yes.
I want to read what you're saying, Missy. One of the things that, and Missy, by the way, is supposed to be graduating she will graduate from high school in a few weeks, but she was in boarding school. That just got turned up on it, upside down, and she's adjusted.
Emily, sorry, we gotta go make noise here. It's 7 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, is it noise time?
Yeah, it's 7 in New York.
Oh,
This is for you, Cole.
God.
Go ahead, I'll be back.
All right, you're making noise there. All right, Dorina, lots of love. I think that Carole, everybody always wanted Carole to be the talent, right? Because she has the personality and she's so magnetic and and everybody wanted more of Carole. And I hope, Carole, that you'll continue to, you're shining a spotlight on an area where people need help, and they need love, and they need a place to vent and so it's perfect that you're doing that. Anybody else have something you want to say to Carole?
Can I
Carole.
just really quickly say that if you haven't yet, will you send your email into the chat?
And if you want to send it privately, that's okay too.
Yeah, you can send it to me privately.
And send it if you want to. You can let us know. Like, I want to get more information about the Laid Off Lounge, or if you want to be on the mailing list for the Ignite method, we'll put you there. Whatever you want, however you want us to use your email or to not use it, we will abide by. Tim, you were going to say something.
I was going to say something. First of all, Carole, your story was amazing. I'm
Thank you, Tim.
duly impressed that you land on your feet, but it's not luck, because I have something I can commiserate with you with. I moved from the Bay Area to Wisconsin to work in experiential marketing, which, as you can imagine, in today's market is as dead of an industry as you could possibly dream of. We're working on the 2020 Olympics as well. I was doing experiential programs mostly for US Bank, but also for a large food company in Chicago. And long story short, your skill set is something that will land you a job as soon as this is over. And I don't think it's going to be a dimmer for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you.
I know some really great executive creative directors in Portland. I worked in Portland. I did a lot of stuff for Nike up in Beaverton.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm happy to chat with you later, but
Oh my God, that sounds
seriously, there are so many things about what you're talking about, your Iron Woman, your passion, your all of the things that you're doing is just a hallmark of somebody who's got their shit together. And I got mad respect for you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, I thank you for your kind words, Tim. And I know that this experiencing a bounce back, one of the things that I did quickly while I was at Airbnb, I know you guys are all familiar with that brand. Obviously travel bans and everything going on, you know, they're not doing well. So we, as a big agency, there in-house, we launched online experiences in 14 days. And I was a huge part of that team. And, you know, I agreed and disagreed with it because I think you should put a donate button on there. Anybody that wants to give money should. But whatever, that's like was my opinion. But that was like an amazing 2-week project that we just had a brainstorm meeting one day when it was going down. Because I have been on lockdown. San Francisco was one of the first cities to lock down. Mm-hmm. So I've been locked down for almost 2 months.
You're in Portland?
I'm up in Portland, Oregon now.
Mm-hmm.
I have my house in Portland, Maine, but I was in San Francisco when it all went down. So Apple,
right.
Google, and Airbnb were the first to shut their offices down. And they were 2 weeks ahead of almost everyone else. And then it kind of rolled out. So yeah.
She's what were you going to do with all that drive and energy? Launch a new brand.
Launch a new brand.
Launch a new brand. Who else wants to say something to Carole? If you need to go off the call, I get it. Amy, I'm sure it's time for you to say something. You don't do if you want. Don't if you don't want to.
Amy's not ready yet.
Pardon me?
I have something if Amy's not ready yet.
My mom speaking?
No, Sandy Chesterton.
Yes. What do you want to say?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say that I feel like I'm so familiar with all the great things about Carole, but something that really shined through to me on this call that is something I maybe wasn't the first thing. Like it wasn't, I think what I really notice about her when I'm with her is her energy and what Marion said about how loving she is and how she sees you. But today I just really noticed how appreciative you are. And I think, first of all, just hearing you talk about Cole, and I mean, she's doing amazing things and really doing so much for all of us, but the way that you appreciated her and then the way that you appreciated everyone's comments, I just think you're such a grounded person, even though you're larger than life. And it was really wonderful to see that part of you.
Thank you.
There you go. I like that. Grounded and larger than life. That I love when two strengths are so, like, that's a powerful combination. Grounded and larger than life. It's rare. I love that. Okay, excellent. Anybody else want to say something?
Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing from Carole and learning about her experiences. I graduated from college in December, so just seeing how you can start out in the mailroom and make a whole career out of it, and being able to start at the bottom almost and make your way to exactly where you want to go, build those relationships, even cleaning the coffee cups like you said, that's huge. That's how you are able to build relationships. I interned for the Nashville Predators in their marketing department, and that department interacted with a lot of other ones, and it helped me land another internship in that company. So I really liked that, and it was great to hear from you.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome, Liz. That's great. Thank you for weighing in, Liz, on that. I want to say this. I'd like to switch our comments to this. What's a takeaway for you today based on the conversation that you're hearing with Carole or with Cole? Something from this call and the conversations we've had that you're going to try to bring a bit more of into your world. And if somebody still wants to comment on Carole, please do. I mean, we don't have to end. We can keep going as long as everybody's here. Katie?
Beth? Okay, really quickly, Carole, I forgot to thank you for appreciating Cole so much. That meant a lot to me. It really meant a lot because, of course, I've been worried to death about her, but she's been she's gotten stronger and stronger each day. It's been amazing to watch. So thank you for that. But what I thought was so great that just went off when Tim said to Carole, wait, I can hook you up with someone. Beth, you're so great at knowing the most dynamic people, and you're so great at putting such an eclectic potpourri of people together that are just so creative and talented in so many different areas. And it just made me think how many of these calls you could create knowing who does what and who you can connect with whom on helping them. And Carole, I'd love to see you speak to that in your podcast as far as, all the people who are suffering and everything everyone's going through, but to also on a positive note, what Beth is so great at is igniting people what they're really creative with, what their strengths are that maybe they haven't discovered yet and what they can do. That being said, if Carole, you could tap into that of like everyone, okay, here was your old job, get out of the problem, get into the solution. What else can you tap into on your creative side or of who you know that can help you get a different job? Like think out of the box, quit thinking you're going to do X again when that's not going to exist right now in this economy. What else are you capable of doing? So I just would love to see that go on a lot in this world because everyone's suffering to some capacity, no matter what. And I just think everyone needs to put their best foot forward for themselves and for other people and think for other people too.
That was great.
Okay. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to step on your words. I'm thinking when we're talking about people who are laid off, and most people are laid off aren't like Carole, right? So Carole has a lot of confidence. It'd be really surprising to see if it ever gets shaken in that way, other than by the HR director who sent her across the street. But I have worked with, let's say, an eye surgeon who had this amazing career and who was at home for like a month and all of a sudden felt worthless. It takes nothing for people to feel worthless and to forget that they have amazing talents and gifts and strengths. And it's very quick. It seems like it can be so quick that I'm sorry, I'm watching Katie. It just, for whatever reason, it's picking you up moving. And it's like, I just got this.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I was running out of juice and I was holding on to every word. I was at 1%.
You have to understand, I don't care. I'm an ADD student. So, I'm not upset. I just was getting distracted with my thinking. But here's the deal. It takes nothing to lose our confidence. And that's part of what I think the Ignite method wants to help people with is building their confidence. It turns out when we explore who we are at our best and our strengths and our talents, unconscious competence as well, that it ends up making us feel better, that we feel more confident, more optimistic, we build resilience. It's a funny thing that this kind of conversation right here that we've had today can be so good for helping us build the reservoir that we need to go out there and face whatever it is we have to do in our jobs and our lives, etc. Carole, what are you thinking right now?
Well, it's funny. I didn't know what I was getting into when I joined this Zoom chat with you all, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just 100% flattered by all of you and all your kind words. And I have this saying that I say to like friends and like my girlfriend and Billy Jack, because I'm a sporty Spice Girl. So I have all these like Carolisms. And one of the things that I do if someone's down is I imitate a bike pump to pump you up. And I just feel like this entire conversation, guys, you guys have pumped me up. I'm going to explode with joy. I'm literally going to explode with joy. You guys just took my confidence level that I have here, and I just took it up another notch. And to just be a part of this conversation with you guys, I'm honored. And Beth, I cannot thank you enough for having me as a guest. And I look forward to getting on your guys' jam again with Billy, Jack, and Christina, the little trio that's doing Laid Off Lounge, because seeing us all riff off of each other is really fun.
Well, I look forward to it. When you're ready, we'll have you back. And I'm so thrilled you came here today for our launch of Get Ignited, which we're hoping to meet on Fridays at 5 o'clock Central. And you have started us out with such a bang. And Cole, are you on? I think she's outside probably, or listening out the window. You have given us a tremendous gift of, as Carole said, being probably the closest, you've given us a gift of perspective and sharing your perspective and connection. And we love you and we appreciate all that you're doing and want to learn more about how you did it and admire you. And Carole, your mission to spread joy in this world, no matter what you're doing, is one of the greatest gifts. You are heroic in that. And I love you and thank you for being with us. And to all of you who joined, thank you so much. Here's the deal. This is for you. It's for us. So please send me your feedback. Please put any comments on the chat. This is for all of us. And let's create this together so that we can all be inspired. It's easy to fall off the train, right? It's easy to get caught into in a downward spiral. It's easy to be more spend more time thinking about who we are at our worst than at our best. And it's maybe true, but it's not helpful. And so we need to help one another. I appreciate each of you jumping on this call and being here and being so present. Tim?
Yes.
Do you want to say what's going on next Friday at 5?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you, Beth, because you are the conduit that brought all this together. So that's a really...
My honor. Are you kidding me? Thank you. Thank you. This is an honor for me to be a part of this. So thank you.
I think for the younger people who are on here, learning that developing a skill and really believing in yourself is what's going to take you through these bumpy times in history. And I think bringing this together like you have has been a magical thing to watch. And I was really touched by both stories. And this is a really exciting thing. Next week at this time, I'm going to talk about the time in my life that I got a chance to travel around the world and sit at the feet of indigenous tribes and shamans. And I'm really excited to share that with you because it completely changed who I was. So stay tuned.
But Tim will be telling you about his going into the jungle to meet with headhunters. And how do you get to meet with headhunters? You know, you don't just have somebody you can call and say, I need to go meet with a group and, you know, they're headhunters. And
actually, you do have someone to call, but you have to know who those people are. They're anthropologists, National Geographic specialists, and linguists.
Right. So you do have to know who to call, but
yeah.
I wouldn't know who to call. Tim did. And it's a project that he's going to share with us, and great wisdom. You know, as Tim said, we're always looking for wisdom. And so he went to go find it in some very remote places in the world. I hope that you guys will come back and invite friends or anybody that you want to invite and tell me what else you want to hear about. But we'll hear from Tim on Friday. We're thrilled to have him. Carole, I can't thank you enough. I will be calling you. Maybe we can have a little Paloma. Pomona is what you call
My Pomona. Yeah, I got a break today. Got to get back to editing. I got a lot of episodes to launch next week.
Yes, I can't wait. We'll all be listening, and we'll be sending information. Anybody have a one-word comment, a one-comment ending here? A little bitty Christine, what do you have to say? She's muted. Anybody want to say something?
Oh, she's good. Christine's off.
No, I had a lot to say, but I won't go into it. I was just thinking that with the, you know, we're creative people, like my daughter who's a writer and 25, understanding how you get to that confident level and you know, holding on to that would be really useful. And I think I'm sure you probably maybe talk about it in the podcast. I don't know, but I can see that really helping a lot of people who are creative types, you know.
We could have an Ignite method for creatives call, a 55-minute workout where we invite Carole back to sort of deconstruct and actually to share with us what she knows works and how to develop in that way.
Great.
Send in your questions about it, Christine. Be thinking about it. And when we talk, we'll follow up.
Great.
Other comments?
Thank you much, Carole.
It's just never long enough. I hate when it ends.
I know. Me too.
I think we all should put in like one word in the chat of like what we're leaving with and like how we're feeling afterwards.
What a great idea, Missy. Thank you. Everybody, would you put in a word in the chat so everybody can benefit from your thinking and what you're feeling and thinking right now? Missy, you lit it up, baby. Good idea. Awesome. Well, on that note, maybe that's the perfect way to end. Everyone have a great evening. Take care of yourself. Stay well. And Cole, we're going to all be thinking of you. Okay? Stay strong. You're helping so many people. Okay, guys.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.